inflation. Cairo's Bridget Chavez is near Seattle.
Leticia Brito is facing the harsh reality that soon she and her son may not have enough to eat. Brito says before the pandemic, she and her son got $25 per month. With the boost, they've been getting about $300.
What is really worrying me right now is having a cut down on the food that I'm going to have to buy so I can have enough money to pay my rent.
Parts of California are struggling to dig out of several feet of snow right now. In fact, some passengers got snowed in at a Greyhound station in Sacramento and say they've been stuck there for days.
It's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. We're missing our families. We're missing our jobs. We're missing our homes and our animals.
Eli Lilly will cut prices by 70% for some of its most prescribed insulins later this year and says it plans to give more patients immediate access to a cap on the cost they pay to fill those prescriptions. That's a big deal since many end up paying more than $1,000 a year for the drug. Utah Republican Mike Lees had quite a day on Twitter. CBS's Steve Futterman explains.
The congressman began the day with his personal Twitter account intact. Then suddenly it was knocked off, replaced with the words account suspended. Whatever the problem was, it didn't last long. Lee's personal account was soon back up. Lee tweeted that he still hasn't been told what happened. His official congressional Twitter account was never affected.
Elon Musk actually says Lee's personal account was incorrectly flagged as impersonation. This is CBS News.
Nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance coverage. Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Now, here's the Only in America Minute, sponsored by MyPillow. Go to MyPillow.com and use promo code BILL. Here's your host, Bill Cochran.
The train derailed a few weeks ago in Palestine, Ohio. And, you know, when they lit that fire, everybody knew that something bad was going to happen to that little town, that little sleepy town filled with around 4,000 people. And the bad thing that happened was the poison that went up into the air and went in the water around the town. And some of the people have been breathing this poison. So what is Joe Biden going to do? He's not going to go. The EPA says the water's okay, and they're not going to do any testing at all for these people. What are the Americans going to do? Well, I would call your congressman and talk about it and think about it.
Tomorrow is opening day at the 2023 Florida Strawberry Festival with Jimmy Sturr and his orchestra at 10:30, the Oak Ridge Boys at 3:30. And Walker Hayes at 7:30 on the Wish Farm Soundstage.
Yeah, we fancy like Applebee's on a date night.
Also, it's Florida Blues Seniors Day. Seniors 60 and over get $2 off regular gate admission. On the Midway, it's O'Reilly Auto Parts Ride-a-thon Day. Present a voucher from participating O'Reilly Auto Parts stores and save $5 off the $25 wristband. Plus, get a voucher for a free Polar Pop at Circle K with each Midway wristband purchase. Hundreds of exhibits, arts and crafts, free entertainment, awesome food, and our delicious strawberry shortcake. Get details and tickets today at flstrawberryfestival.com or visit a participating Publix supermarket for discount admission tickets. The 2023 Florida Strawberry Festival. We have a winner.
Tune in to the Shrink and Wrap Show here on Tan Talk Radio. Our stories and our topics will include, but are not limited to, everyday issues. We're here for you, for our listeners. We want to know what's important to you. So again, don't miss us on Tan Talk Radio. Tune in again, Shrink and Wrap Show. We'll see you then.
That's the Shrink and Wrap Show every Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. right here on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Tune in Saturdays from 3 to 5 p.m. for Miss Sarah's Dynamic Gospel Power Show. That's 2 hours of great gospel music every Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m. All brought to you by the Ozona Pig Restaurant in Ozona. Yes, that's every Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m. It's Miss Sarah's Dynamic Gospel Power Show. Tune in on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hi, this is Prior Smith speaking from Toronto with an invitation to join me Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. and 12 noon for Canada Calling, the daily update of news from home for vacationing Canadians, right here On WTAN Clearwater Dunedin, 1340 AM and 106.1 FM. On WDCF in Dade City, 1350 and 102.3 FM. And on WZHR in Zephyr Hills at 1400 and 104.3 FM. That's Canada Calling on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Tee off with On the Tee Florida, Saturdays from 11 to 12 on the Tampa St. Pete Sports Connection Radio Network. From PGA coverage to putt-putt prowess, On the Tee Florida is a PGA fan and a heck's perfect round of informative, humorous conversation and coverage. Every Saturday, talking golf in Tampa Bay and across the USA. Hit them straight with On the Tee Florida, brought to you by Coors Light, Saturdays from 11 to 12.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hola, bienvenidos. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Ozone. I'm your host, Orestes Destrade, also known as the Big O or just O. Hence, of course, the Ozone. Thanks to the great Chapters Network. You know, those people have been fantastic. Give me this little pulpit here. Every week we'll be coming to you at 7 o'clock on Wednesdays for a half hour. Have some fun. Thanks to Anna back holding down the fort over there at StreamYard. And obviously behind me over here in front of me, actually, is Bobby on the board. So thanks for joining us here. And this is the first show. This is the maiden voyage of the Ozone. And basically, some people might be thinking, listen, why the Ozone? And I'm going to tell you why the Ozone is a show that I wanted to try to create. And I am going to tell you a little bit about myself. Those who don't know, I'm a sports guy, background of baseball. I'm going to be touching on that quite a bit. But not just sports. I really kind of wanted a pulpit and an opportunity to have a show that's about mind and matter. Mind and matters. And basically what is on my mind and what matters to me. But not just my mind and what matters to me, but also your all mind and what matters to you. So you definitely can come on or suggest certain things every week that we can, talk about, because I care about that. And also we're going to be having regular guests all the time that are going to be coming on and telling me about what matters and what's on their mind, because it's not just going to be sports, but I really kind of want to talk a little bit about, entertainment, topical things, stay away from all the craziness of heavy politics, but definitely a show that is diverse. My background is sports, but also has been traveled around the world. I'm going to take you on a journey of that. And there's no doubt that, O for Orestes and Zone. Why Zone? Because I do want to take you on a journey. And it's not just about sports, but also the current topics, and have basically loving good fun. I mean, I used to be a really big fan of the Twilight Zone. I don't know if you guys remember back in the day of Rod Sterling and the Twilight Zone. I used to watch that all the time as a young kid and even as an adult, because you could still pick that up. So that's kind of where I stole a little bit of the zone, for the Ozone moniker, if you will. In fact, I'll give you my best, Rod Sterling from back in the day. Imagine, if you will, submitted for your approval, an enigmatic show of tales and stories, curious of the wild. The sign up ahead reads that you have entered the Ozone. So that's the best Rod Sterling that I got. But coming up on this show, we're going to be talking about my background and my story of really three countries that I love dearly. One being my birth country of Cuba, Cuba, where I was born and was there till 6 years old. And we're going to talk a little bit about that country, also about the country that I was raised in, the country that I love to death, and that is the great United States of America, as it came over when I was 6 years old, and talk about my venture through baseball and onto other different things I've been able to do. And then a third country that has been very, very dear to me and very close to me, and that is Dainippon, Japan, from having gone there for many years now, going on 30 years in and out of there, 6 years as a player for a team outside of Tokyo called the Seibu Lions. So all three of these countries kind of were involved in my life and kind of bringing me to this point. So without further ado, and by the way, I am going to have a couple of guests, including a gentleman that's going to come over here and talk to us about the great HEAT program. If you don't know about the HEAT program, HEAT, that has to do with our veterans of war and dealing with something that unfortunately is not talked about enough and is not raised enough awareness nor raised enough money for. So we're trying to do that, and that's called the Veterans Heat Factory, honoring and empowering and assisting and training those that have had PTSD coming from so many different battles overseas and wars. So that HEAT program, we're going to talk a little bit about that in a few minutes and have a guest on telling you some insight to that, but also places that you can go on their website to donate and get involved, because our veterans, and I talked about the fact that I love in this great country, as I tell you the story of my life, the play of America and its great army and military plays a big part for me, because this is the greatest country in the world. So again, I'm going to have one more other guest coming in, and that's going to be Orestes Destrade, my little nephew. He's not that little anymore. He's 35 years old, and he's fascinating. He'll come on towards the end of the show and talk a little bit about everything. He's been involved. He was a high school baseball coach, college baseball coach. Oh, by the way, if you look up Survivor Albert, he finished third on Survivor a few years ago. An incredible show. Now they're playing all the different episodes on Amazon Prime, so you can catch Survivor Albert and just look him up. But he's unique because he's also become a professional poker player. And add to that, he also has like a dating site type thing where he coaches men to how to date women. Go figure. So I think he's a perfect guy for this type of eclectic show that I hope it to be, and talk a little bit about everything. And of course, he is all about sports too. So let's start with where it all began. For me, it was in Cuba in 1962. I was born in a very tumultuous time, with obviously Cuba being caught in controversy with the United States. Castro had just recently taken over and in 1959 said, "I'm not democratic, I am communist." So obviously by the time I was born, it had gotten really crazy. And then subsequently after that, you had, before that, you had the Bay of Pigs invasion. I was named after Orestes Destrade, my great uncle, the brother of my late grandfather, who was in the Bay of Pigs invasion and was captured and was to be executed right around the time, May 8th of 62, that I was born. So my father, in honor of him, named me after him. So it's a really interesting, dynamic. And as I say, it's not just these stories I'm going to be telling you throughout today and hopefully in future weeks. It's not just about me, but they tie in and the fibers of countries and other situations and things that hopefully you'll find fascinating. But my dad, finally, we snuck out of Cuba in 1968 and were able to make it to Miami through Mexico. And I grew up there and became a young Cuban American. So, in fact, are we having the call coming up right now?
We have Gus right now.
Oh, Gus is here. I'll continue talking about me, but this is more important to have Gus come on the show. My first guest and caller is my man Gus from the great HEAT Network. Gus, how are you, sir?
Life is wonderful. Thank you. It's so nice to be at the Ozone.
Hey, buddy, welcome in, man. And hopefully it won't be the only time you'll be coming on regularly and talking about the things that you're doing, which are really worthwhile. I know that you and I have talked before. And in fact, we're in the middle of a very dear project that we're going to also touch on. But initially, just tell us a little bit about HEAT and what you guys are trying to achieve over there.
Okay, the HEAT is all about the veterans, first responders, and their family suffering with PTSD. We do clinicals, we do workouts, physical therapy, art therapy, a lot of bonding and getting back into society. You know, a lot of people don't know that over 8,000 veterans took their lives last year because of PTSD, and that's only counted the ones that that overdose or something like that. But there's a lot of them that not even counted because you ever hear about somebody hitting a tree and nobody knows why it happened and it was a perfect day and all that? Those are not counted. So it's a lot worse than what I could imagine it is. And it carries right through the family. And so we work with the veteran, we work with the mate, and we work with the children of the veteran.
You know, Gus, I want to mention before you go on, because it's interesting you say that a lot of people don't know 8,000 took their lives, right? With me from Veterans Heat Factory, Gus Guadagnino. Gus, so here's the interesting thing, because you know what does get mentioned is when a former football player commits suicide, Junior Seau. There's been several, sadly. And what have they experienced? It's trauma to the head, right? And then it became, undetected PTSD or issues in your brain. So this is what our countrymen, our soldiers are basically doing this to say, to protect us. But of course, you hear about, and I get it because they're in the limelight. You hear about an NFL All-Star or Hall of Famer that takes his life. But this is the type of thing that we're talking about that needs to be more made aware, right?
Yeah, and of all the things that I ever worked for, fundraising and all that, this is the most difficult one. And I believe the reason why is because it's not a physical thing that you can see. You can't see a veteran that lost his arm, or even animals that look sad, or children that,
until it's too late.
Unless you're with that person.
Until it's too late.
I think, okay, so they can't sleep at night. That's all it is. It's not. It's a lot worse.
No, brother. And so give us the website that they can go to and find out more information and also donate any funds.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, we're doing that play on March 18th. You're the big star.
Yeah, how about that, man? If you don't know yet, you need to come out in Spring Hill. It's called Play Ball. It's called the Bat Boy. And it features really Ray Negron and that incredible story of his life. Yeah. In fact, this is 50 years of Ray Negron being involved with baseball in the New York Yankees, and the story of how he was basically discovered by Mr. Steinbrenner. And it talks about Reggie and obviously Thurman Munson, Billy Martin. It's just a beautiful play. I'm excited to be a part of this. The first time that I'm going to get a chance. I'm playing Reggie Jackson. But 500 seats on the 18th. And the tickets are what, $10, and it's going straight to the Heat program, right?
Exactly. And the easiest way to get the tickets is if you go on to www.veterans.heatfactory.com. On the main page, there's two buttons on top. One is for tickets, and the next button is to donate in case you want to give a little money that we desperately need.
No doubt.
Because we don't charge a penny to our veterans or first responders.
Amen.
So we work on patients. So there's two buttons. There's a donate button and a ticket button.
Well, that's simple enough. I mean, so again, www.veteransheatfactory.com. And once you get on there, you'll see the link to either donate or come on out and watch our play. There's going to be on the 18th and hopefully the 19th coming up with this month in a couple of weeks or so. And you can watch me play Reggie Jackson, who was my hero growing up, by the way. Gus, thank you for coming on, brother. We're going to keep supporting this and make awareness to something that is dramatically important and a silent killer. And by all means, let's help our veterans. Thanks, Gus.
Thank you so much. We couldn't do it without your support.
Attaboy. There you have it, man. Veterans Heat Factory. Definitely keep that in mind. And in a minute, I'm going to be bringing on, as I told you before, my beloved nephew.
Which we got him.
Albert. Oh, there he is. Albertico. How are you, buddy?
Fantastic. Oh, thanks for having me.
Good to have you. You're caller number 2 on the Ozone here, the inaugural voyage of our show here on Tan Talk 1340 and tied in with the Chapters Network. Now, I already kind of gave a little breakdown of your prowess, which is quite diverse, man. I really think that you're a mid-30s man that is done so many different things and kind of personifies a lot of life right now. You love sports. You're a professional gambler in poker. You're a dating coach. You've been on Survivor, finished third on Survivor a few years ago, won $100,000. You little knucklehead, where's my money? And just I think you kind of personify all the things that are going on with a mid-30s kind of guy. So give me a little breakdown of what you've been doing lately and what you're about.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of in our blood. I think it's if you look at the background of our family, man, we've always been the adventurous kind. We've your dad, my grandfather, Orestes Destrade, the OG of the Destrade clan, just celebrated his 93rd birthday. And his 93rd birthday this weekend, and he, I just try to live a life that makes him proud and follows in his footsteps. And he took a lot of chances to get to this country, so you and myself and our future generations can live a good and free life. So I just try to make the most of the opportunities I get, man. And I bet on myself in a lot of different ways and areas in life, and just try to live a life that make our family proud,
Outstanding. I mean, again, I started the show with saying what a great country this is, and the opportunity is just that. Having come from communist Cuba, you were born here. My brother, obviously, after we already had migrated, he came over at 9 years old by himself initially. We came in later. Your dad, Albert, was really, like a Peter Pan type story. So talk to me a little bit about, now you said you bet on yourself. So you bet on yourself. You went to Survivor and you kicked ass with that. Again, if you guys want to check them out, go to Survivor Albert. You'll find some cool pictures of that episode and how exciting that was. Then you bet on yourself when you left coaching and became a professional gambler in poker, and now you run a lot of different legit games and kind of teach poker to people. How's that been?
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I feel in life there's a lot of different avenues that lead you one way or the other. For me, our first passion, for our family was baseball, right? Baseball was the first passion in the Destrade clan, and that was kind of my sights were solely set on playing baseball. And then throughout, I got the opportunity to play college baseball at Lynn University at a very storied Division II program in Florida, and just playing baseball and hanging out with my buddies on the team, I just one day discovered, this game of poker. And I was like, I remember one of the guys on the team was like, hey, you want to come play poker with us? And I was like, I don't know the rules. And he said, no, just come over and we'll teach you. And within 1 week of playing, I was firmly convinced that I was the best player in the world. Now, I had no idea what I was doing at the time.
You were bluffing? Bluffing that?
Oh, at 20 years old, I'm like, man, I am a savant. And now looking back, like, a lot of things in life, you learn that, there's so much more you don't know and so much to learn. And I kind of got into that journey. It was kind of a need, man, for me. When I got done playing college baseball, it was, 2007, 2008, which was kind of when, the economy wasn't doing fantastic in America. So jobs weren't really, available left and right. So I just started coaching college or high school and then college baseball. And then the way that I was able to afford coaching was I'd play a little poker on the side. Right? That was my little side hustle back in the day.
Right.
And then it kind of evolved into this big thing where I kind of got a little more serious about it. And then eventually now it's where I like it. Now it's more recreational. I've kind of tapped myself into a social pipeline with a lot of the private game scenes, which are kind of bigger stakes. And it's really led me to meet and connect with a lot of really interesting and influential people who've, affected my life in a positive way. So it's cool how everything comes full circle.
No, it has been, and you've done it properly and perfectly, man. And I'm proud of you, not just because I'm biased as your uncle, but I really like, the things how you migrated and the chance taking, because life is a little bit about, taking chances, properly, right? And with caution, but yet aggressive. Speaking of that, and I'm going to have you on pretty regularly because you're so fascinating that it'll be fun. And we'll talk some baseball. I know you're in love with the Atlanta Braves and the NL East. We'll get into that, some other segments in other weeks. But I do want to ask you, how the heck did you get involved in being a dating coach? Explain. You went from baseball coach to poker coach to dating coach, Albert Jr.?
So that's always the funny one. So I was in 2011. I had an opportunity to be on the show Survivor, like you mentioned. And when you go on Survivor and these shows, when you watch these shows, they always put up the person's. They say Joe, Kansas, and then they say rancher, or like Phyllis, doctor from Missouri. For me, it came up at the time. I was a baseball coach, but I'd been a dating coach prior. That said Albert baseball/dating coach, and this was like everyone was like, "What is
that's
this?"
how it happened. Okay.
Yeah,
so it was kind of by accident. You felt it a little bit.
No,
I mean, you already done it, but you felt it became more like prevalent.
Well, that was like kind of the reveal, because here's what's interesting about this industry. Yeah, so what's interesting about the industry, it used to be called the community, that became this industry. It's basically like these guys who have no social skills,
right,
and are just like, man, we don't have any success with women. So it all developed through these like online forums where a bunch of dorky guys just got together and compared strategies. It was like basically what's happening with Major League Baseball and analytics. It's all these Ivy League guys who are just like, how do we
they're the
solve?
stars?
Right. And then they developed all these tactics and strategies and things, right? So everything was very secretive in the early days of what used to be called the PUA world, like the pickup artist world, right?
Right.
So I was like, everyone had a handle, like no one went by their real name. One of the most prominent guys in the industry, this guy, he would go by Mystery. His name is Eric von Markovich.
Right.
And he was featured in the book The Game by Neil Strauss. He was on the television show The Pickup Artist. So it was really kind of like, it was a secretive thing. Even if you watch the movie Hitch with Will Smith, very famous movie,
Great movie.
Right? Even in that film, everything he does is very underground. He's like, I don't have a website. It's passing a card. So it was a very like behind the scenes thing. So how did I get into it?
Hold that thought, because I got to get one more call before I got to go to the bottom of the hour. But you are definitely going to be a regular for me, because you got me captivated. I hope the audience wants to hear more about Albert Destrade, the dating savant. But get back to your game, man. And I love you. And we'll talk next week again. And I'll talk to you before that. All right, Albert Dico.
100%. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it, and love to be on the inaugural episode here.
You got it, man. It's going to be a lot of fun here at the Ozone. We're going to talk about everything. All right, I got one more. I can squeeze it in, maybe.
Right, let's go to Gil.
Gil.
Yeah, hi, Orestes.
Gil, we got a couple minutes, man. I mean,
1 minute.
I got 1 minute. Give me all your best on the Ozone.
Hey, listen, I used to play in Albany. I was in Albany, and I used to Albany Comedy.
In Albany?
Yes, I used to watch it. So great back.
All right, Gil. Listen, just hearing from you from Albany brings back great memories, and also a championship, because not only did I win a championship in A-ball with the Yankees in the minor leagues, but AA, AAA, finally got to the big leagues in 1987. A proud Yankee that I am, and I'm also proud to be here on the Chapters Network hosting the Ozone. Make sure you catch it every Wednesday at 7 o'clock for a half hour and talk kooky things in the world of sports, entertainment, and just fun love. See you next week.